Jabra Elite 4 active. Let's get into it. But first, Jabra was kind enough to send these earbuds over for this review, but as many of my longtime viewers know, this doesn't affect my reviews in any way. I'm telling you this because I believe in honesty and transparency with you as the viewer, but please make sure you watch multiple reviews on any product before making your purchasing decisions. Also, be sure to stick around to the end of this video for all the comparison rankings and the microphone quality samples. So now, let's really get into it. So first, let's start with the connection. Now, the Jabra Elite 4 Active are featuring Bluetooth 5.2 with SBC and aptX as their connection codecs. Surprisingly, there is no AAC support here. Not sure why, but it just isn't here. Now, they are still fully compatible with both iOS and Android devices. And just to be clear, I always test with both operating systems to ensure full compatibility. Now, when it comes to Bluetooth range, you are going to get the standard 10 meters or 33 feet, but this will vary depending on how many obstructions you put in between your device and the earbuds in your ears. Now, these are also featuring single usage mode, and that's where you can use each earbud individually while the other one is charging in its case. And thankfully, ANC and Ambient modes are still available even in single usage mode, so that's a welcome addition. Now, unfortunately, these do not feature multi-point connectivity, so you can't connect these to two devices at the same time. At least not yet. Now, do you want to see Jabra bring multi-point to the Elite 4 Active? Sound off in the comment section. Let them know because I know they'll be reading these comments. Now, moving over to lag or latency. When you're watching videos, there's going to be little to no lag experienced whatsoever. YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, any of that stuff, not going to be a problem. But when it comes to mobile gaming, this is where you will be experiencing some latency. For casual games, not going to be a problem. But if you're playing any sort of competitive shooting games, then you're probably going to want to stay away from the Elite 4 Active. There is 200 plus milliseconds worth of latency, and it is a very noticeable difference. So if you're an elite gamer, these aren't going to be the earbuds for you. Sadly, there is no low latency gaming mode here. While it would be nice to have a low latency gaming mode to improve that mobile gaming experience, those gaming modes do negatively affect battery life, so keep that in mind. Now, moving over to the battery life of the Jabra Elite 4 Active, Jabra was claiming 7 hours on a single charge with an additional 21 hours in the case for a combined 28 hours total. In my own actual testing, I managed to get 5 hours and 52 minutes with noise cancellation turned on and 7 hours and 17 minutes with noise cancellation turned off. And all of that testing was done with the aptX codec. Now, when it comes to recharging the earbuds themselves, they do feature a fast charging mode, so you can drop them both into their case for 10 minutes, and that will give you an additional 1 hour worth of playback time. As far as recharging the case itself, they do feature USB Type-C. Unfortunately, there is no wireless charging with the Elite 4 Active. Now, the case itself is extremely similar to the cases for the Jabra Elite 75T and 85T. It's actually in the middle of both of those as far as size and height is concerned, but it is definitely bigger than both the cases for the Elite 3 and the Elite 7, which is kind of, I don't know, I just kind of think it's kind of odd that this is their next generation. You figured that they would use the smaller case with these, but they definitely don't. And it's a bigger case, and we're not even seeing any real additional battery life or wireless charging, so it begs the question, why did we go with a bigger case? So that was just something that I was kind of wondering about, a little confusion there. Now, before we move into the next section, did you know that over 80% of the people watching my videos aren't even subscribed to my channel? Help me change that. I'm trying to build a positive and inclusive community around the latest audio technology, and I'd love it if you joined us. Now, moving over to the comfort and controls, the Jabra Elite 4 Active are featuring their new and more ergonomic design, similar to the Elite 3 and the Elite 7, so it's much more comfortable than before. The grip is actually surprisingly good as long as you're getting proper tip fitment. So workouts, jogging, things of that nature are not going to be a problem. Also, these are featuring an IP57 rating. So you are getting that dust and water resistance. So it's not going to be an issue if you sweat on them or if you get caught out in the rain, really not going to be an issue. But once again, the grip really comes down to proper tip fitment. So they do include a lot of different tips inside the box. But if you end up needing something different, there are alternative options from companies like SpinFit. If you're interested in a different recommendation on ear tips, let me know in the comment section. Now, the Jabra Elite 4 Active can also work well for sleep. In my own testing, for side sleep, it was not an issue. For back sleep, totally not an issue. But it all depends on your ears and your own personal comfort level. So user experience will vary. But for me, so far, it's actually been pretty good. Now, as far as controlling the Elite 4 Active, you do have button controls here, and I do recommend using that pinch and hold technique so you're not just jabbing them straight into your ears. And you do get access to full controls. So you get a single press, a double press, a triple press, and a long press. And you do get full controls, like I said. You get volume control, track control, play, pause, answer and phone calls, ANC modes, all of it. But sadly, there are no programmable controls with the Elite 4 Active. Not sure why, but it is what it is. So let's move over to the Jabra app support. So these are supported by the Jabra Sound Plus app, and it is available for both iOS and Android. Now, when you open up the app, you are going to be greeted by a settings icon, and that's where you can do your firmware updates, ANC personalization, along with a bunch of other menus. Now, you back out of there, you get into the main screen, and you'll see the battery life of both the earbuds and the case. Below this, you get your sound modes. So that's HearThrough, active noise cancellation, and just off. So both of them off. Below that, you do get your custom EQ with the sliders, so you can create your own presets, along with the 6 pre-installed presets right there at your fingertips. Now, there's a lot more to this app. I'm not going to go through all of those menus, but make sure that if you get these earbuds, you download this app immediately so you can kind of explore and see what's all available there. So now let's get into the performance of the Elite 4 Active. Let's start with active noise cancellation. Now, the active noise cancellation feature here is strong. It actually works pretty well against low and mid frequency noise, so crowds, machines, things of that nature. But one of the most surprising things here is that the ANC strength of the Elite 4 Active is stronger and more noticeable than what you get with the Elite 7 Pro, which really blew me away. I was doing back-to-back testing with both. The Elite 4 Active have stronger noise cancellation. Why the little brother would have stronger ANC than the big brother? No idea, but this is the case here. Now, one thing I will say is that you are seeing a bit of an EQ shift when activating the ANC. There's a slight mid-bass increase when ANC is active. Slightly noticeable. If it bugs you, you can always dial it back with the EQ, but I just wanted to point that out. But overall, the active noise cancellation performance of the Elite 4 Active is impressive. Now, let's move over to the transparency mode, or what they call HearThrough. This mode needs a bit of work. Now, the volume is low on this HearThrough mode, despite being at its maximum strength on the slider. So despite sounding mostly natural, so not a lot of processed type of sound to it, it just leaves a bit to be desired. So hopefully we can improve the volume level of the HearThrough mode, and that would really improve the overall performance of this mode. So now let's move over to the sound. First up, let's talk about the volume. So in my testing, the Elite 4 Active managed to pull 109 decibels of peak volume. So very, very loud, at least in my personal opinion, more than loud enough for me. For me, comfortable listening comes in about 65 to maybe 80% if I want to get bouncy with it. But overall, more than enough volume for your boy El Jefe. So now let's move over to the sound quality. And the Jabra Elite 4 Active, they're offering you that standard Jabra tuning. So emphasis on bass with an overall warm and rich sound. But let's break it down. So first up, let's start with the bass. Now, these are using that bass head tuning. Bass head crew? You guys know what I'm talking about. The merch right here, right? The bass head crew. Just as a quick aside, my merchandise, it all goes for charity. There'll be a link down below for the Basshead Crew hoodies and t-shirts. It all goes to support local food banks. I don't make any money off of it. So if you want to support local food banks, please check out the merch. But more on the bass. So these have excellent sub-bass rumble. So that's the bass that you can feel as much as you can hear. It's strong and punchy, but you can dial it back if it's a bit too much for you. If you prefer more of a balanced sound, you can definitely make those adjustments. Also, if you want more bass, you can also turn it up, and they respond very well to EQ adjustments. So the test track that I used for the bass was Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. Now the bass drop starts right at the 13-second mark, and it continues all the way until the beat switch up about halfway through the song. So excellent. You definitely want to add that to your playlist. Now moving over to the mid-range, these have more of a neutral mid-range. It obviously can be boosted with EQ, but overall it comes across as very neutral, sort of more on the relaxed side. There's some decent vocal clarity here, but the soundstage is actually quite narrow on these earbuds. Everything sounds very close in, kind of in your face. For some people that can be good, for some people that can be bad, just depends on your own personal preferences. Now the test track that I used for this was Toxicity by System of a Down. Right at the 2-minute and 40-second mark where the chorus starts, you hear the guitars and the drums really come to life right before Surge comes roaring back in. So if you don't have this song on your playlist, you need to add it immediately. Now, moving over to the treble. The treble is quite relaxed, so it falls off quickly unless you boost it in the EQ. So it's very laid back, it's inoffensive, but it can also be inconsistent at times. But let me explain. So it can lack energy with some songs, but it can feel very lively with other recordings. So with one of those recordings is Leave the Door Open by Silk Sonic. So the drums, Bruno and Anderson's vocals, along with the guitars, they sound really good, but the tambourine and the drum snares, they just fall flat on their face. So this is something where you can really hear that inconsistency. So try out that song. Let me know what you think. Now, when it comes to the EQ, as usual, all the testing on the Elite 4 Active was done with their own neutral EQ applied. So that's the EQ that they come with right out of the box. But since the Elite 4 Active respond to EQ very well, I'll go ahead and post my own personal EQ right up here on the screen. Go ahead and pause the video if you want to go ahead and take some notes or apply this EQ to your own earbuds. And let me know what you think of my own personal settings down in the comments. So now let's move over to some constructive criticism, both for you as the viewer and for Jabra as well to take notes. So first of all, the HearThrough or Ambient feature, it needs to be improved. At least in volume, it would go a long way to giving you a better overall experience. Now, next to this, there's also no ear detection, which is kind of surprising. Not having it on a $100 plus earbud, I don't know, a little weird. Not a deal breaker for me personally, but I just wanted to make sure that that was heard. Also, no wireless charging. Considering the competition has wireless charging on their earbuds that are over $100, at least most of the competition, this is kind of a weird oversight. Also, there's no low latency gaming mode, which I know people don't associate Jabra with mobile gaming, but it would be really cool to have this as an option. Third, no multi-point connectivity. And I understand why they wouldn't have it here because they want to save that for their flagships. But considering that the Elite 75T and the Elite 85T had it, I don't see why you wouldn't have it here. Now, last but not least, the fact that there are no programmable controls. Now, I understand, once again, this is probably left for their top tier, the Elite 7, but it would be really cool to have that option here where you can make those adjustments. It would just be a good guy move. Jabra has made some good guy moves before, like adding multi-point and adding noise cancellation and stuff, so maybe this will be something they do via firmware update. Fingers crossed. So now let's move over to the comparison ranking to see where the Jabra Elite 4 Active lie within the $100 to $150 price category. So in that category, some of the top dogs are going to be the OnePlus Buds Pro, the Beats Studio Buds, the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro, and the Edifier NeoBuds Pro. Now, I have full reviews on each of these earbuds in this comparison, so if you're interested in checking those out, I'll leave links to them in the description box right down below. So first up, let's start with the noise cancellation. In first place, we've got the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro. In second place, we've got the OnePlus Buds Pro. In third, we've got the Jabra Elite 4 Active. Fourth place, Edifier NeoBuds Pro. And in fifth place, we've got the Beats Studio Buds. Now, while the Jabra Elite 4 Active noise cancellation is strong, both OnePlus and Soundcore did a better job of handling both crowd noise and machine noise in my own personal testing. Now, moving over to the ambient mode. In first place, we've got OnePlus Buds Pro. In second place, Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro. Third place, we've got the Edifier NeoBuds Pro. Fourth place, we've got the Jabra Elite 4 Active. And in fifth place, we've got the Beats Studio Buds. Now, this is one area where Jabra has left room for improvement, as I said earlier in this review. OnePlus has the most natural sound and feel overall, but it was a close race against Soundcore and their ability to reduce background noise. Now, that natural sound is really what put OnePlus over the top here, but it was pretty close. Now, moving over to the volume. So in first place, you've got Beats with 112.4 decibels of peak volume. Second place, OnePlus with 109.9. Third place, you got Jabra with 109 flat. Fourth place, you've got Soundcore with 106.2. And fifth place, you got Edifier with 103.1 dB of peak volume. Now, these numbers speak for themselves here. They all get more than loud enough for me personally, but I feel that this testing is much more objective and is much more helpful to you as a viewer and as a potential purchaser. Now, last but not least, let's move over to the sound quality. So in first place, we've got the Edifier NeoBuds Pro. Second place, we've got the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro. Third place, we've got the OnePlus Buds Pro. Fourth place, we've got the Beats Studio Buds. And in fifth place, we've got the Jabra Elite 4 Active. While I would say that the Jabra Elite 4 Active have good sound quality overall, they are left behind by the other four in this category, even with my own EQ applied. The real competition here was with the top three, but Edifier edged out the win with a wider soundstage, improved instrument separation, and deeper bass extension. Now, I attribute this to the fact that they are a dual driver earbud, but even so, both OnePlus and Soundcore came very close. So overall, one heck of a competition within that $100 to $150 price point. So now let's get into some microphone quality samples. Now I'm going to play all of these back to back with both quiet and some crowd noise applied, and this way you can hear what they all sound like for yourself. All right, so here we have the microphone test for the Jabra Elite 4 Active. So testing, 1, 2, 3. Obviously I'm indoors in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, so here we have the microphone test for the Beats Studio Buds. So testing, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, I'm indoors once again in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, so here we have the microphone test for the Edifier NeoBuds Pro. So testing, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, I'm indoors once again in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, so here we have the microphone test for the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro. So testing, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, I'm indoors once again in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, so here we have the microphone test for the OnePlus Buds Pro. So testing, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, once again, I'm indoors in a semi-quiet room. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the Jabra Elite 4 Active in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a crowded bar, a busy restaurant, something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the Beats Studio Buds in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a crowded bar, maybe a busy restaurant, something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the Edifier NeoBuds Pro in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a busy bar, maybe a crowded restaurant, something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the Soundcore Liberty Air 2 Pro in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a busy bar, maybe a crowded restaurant, something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. And here we have the OnePlus Buds Pro in a simulated crowd noise environment. So something like a busy bar or maybe a crowded restaurant, something along those lines. So testing, 1, 2, 3. As always, you're going to have to be the judge of the microphone quality down in the comment section. So with all of that out of the way, if you want to check out the best option for you under $150, check out the video that I'm going to leave for you right up here on the screen. If you're interested in picking up the Jabra Elite 4 Active for yourself, I'll leave a link for you right up here. With all that said, my name is JEFE, and I'm out this bitch.